Good morning. Welcome back into Wake Up America. Glad you're with us today. After a rough weekend for President Biden, House Republicans are back in Washington this week after the summer recess, and rumors continue to swirl around Washington about a possible Biden impeachment, maybe a vote for something like that this month. This all coming on the heels of that CNN poll out Friday that put the president's approval rating at just 39%. Joining us now to break it all down, former advisor to President George W. Bush and 2008 GOP nominee John McCain. Mark McKinnon is with us this morning, and former Ronald Reagan advisor and Republican strategist Ed Rollins with us this morning. It is great to have you both back on. Good to see you. Mark, I've never seen a press conference end like this before, but I wanted to get your reaction to the way this Sunday morning press conference ended for the president in Vietnam. Take a look.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed. We talked about stability. We talked about making sure that the third world, the Southern Hemisphere had access to change. It had access. It wasn't confrontational at all. He came up with
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the Charlie Parker music at the end there. Mark, you were with George W. for a long time. Could you ever imagine the comms director, or in this case, Karine Jean-Pierre, cutting off the former president mid-sentence like we saw Sunday?
If I didn't know better, I would have thought that was a skit from Saturday Night Live.
Right, a bad skit.
Problem for Joe Biden. 77% of the country think he's too old to be president. That includes 69% of Democrats. He can do lots of things to improve his standing over the next year. The one thing that he cannot do is the thing that most people are concerned about. He's not going to get any younger. And that press conference, you know, assuming that he's going to be on camera at all between now and next year, which he has to be as president, there's going to be more moments like that. And it only affirms and confirms voters' worst fears, which is that this guy's too old to be president.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ed, great to see you again. The Wall Street Journal with an article yesterday, Democrats starting to panic about Joe Biden. And now there are persistent rumors swirling around Washington that he might announce that he's not running at some point soon, giving other Democratic candidates, names like Gavin Newsom, time to meet those filing deadlines. What are you hearing, and do you give those rumors any credibility?
I think that's a lot of wishful thinking. I think there's no question that most people who are serious Democrats wish he would step aside. But there's nobody that can walk in there and say, Mr. President, you can't cut it anymore. You need to go away. In his mind, he's doing a great job. He's a guy with great imagination. And he was reliving his high school football days yesterday in Vietnam. At the end of the day here, there's just no alternative. And there's plenty of alternatives, but there's no alternative that's going to be. No one's going to walk in and say, Mr. President, step aside. And you've got the Harris problem. Harris is no more popular than he is. So my sense is he's going to gut it out. You don't get a legacy unless you serve 2 terms. And the 2 presidents who were defeated after 1 term were President Carter and President Bush, and President Trump was coming back, hopefully. But at the end of the day here, there's no one going to tell him to step aside.
Yeah, it's fast, and I don't imagine that anybody in the Reagan administration would do that to Ronald Reagan. We know what happened. I paid for this microphone, so I don't think the same thing would happen that we saw with Biden. Mark, I'm wondering what you make of Joe Biden skipping ceremonies on the East Coast yesterday. It's 9/11. He had that stopover at that Air Force base in Anchorage. That's a typical layover spot. It's a gas station. They refuel Air Force One there. They held a brief ceremony there. Biden, again, off key with a joke to open up the ceremony. And then he spent some of his time talking about domestic extremism on a day when we're honoring victims of Islamic terrorism 22 years ago.
Well, again, it's just more affirmation and confirmation that Biden's age is a problem. And every time he does that, it just tells voters, well, this guy is not up for the job. I disagree with Ed a little bit, who, by the way, is the master of politics and a great mentor of mine. The reality is that most presidents' second terms don't do much for their legacy. And that's certainly going to be the case for Biden, and particularly so because Biden ran as a transitional figure. He said specifically and implicitly, I intend to run and hand the baton off to a younger generation. And he was a man of the moment in 2020. He may have been the only Democrat who could beat Trump. The irony is he may now be the only Democrat who could lose to Trump.
Your response, Ed?
I totally agree. My sense of talking about legacy is every president thinks he has to have the second term to finish with the agenda. Most of them don't. Most of them fail. This president's failing through every day. And they think the only way they can get reelected is that Trump's going to go to jail or Trump's going to be indicted again, or something's going to happen on that front. And they're pushing. They have a full campaign going now trying to sell their programs. And it's not selling. They're not saleable.
Yeah.
So my sense, it's only going to get worse. And he clearly cannot function in the role of presidency.
Mark, the Wall Street Journal, Nikki Haley's goal, leapfrogging Ron DeSantis to become Donald Trump's top rival. She's clearly having a moment right now. How big is this next debate in a couple of weeks going to be for the former ambassador?
As big as it gets. The reality is that there are only a couple of opportunities in a presidential campaign where you have to really move the dial. Your announcement, the nomination speech, if you get the nomination, and the debates, and arguably they're the most important. That's when most people watch. Nikki Haley killed it at the last debate and showed that she deserves not only to be on that stage, but the possibility of earning the nomination. And I think she's a real threat. And by the way, I know from my Democratic friends that if you give them truth serum, they will all say the person that they are most afraid of as a general nominee that could beat just about any Democrat is Nikki Haley.
Interesting. Mark McKinnon and Ed Rollins, really appreciate you being back with us this morning. So nice to have you together, by the way. We'll do it again. Thank you.
I'll do it with him anytime. He's just, maybe I get to come to Colorado. You come there.
Thank you, Ed.
Rollins
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you.